how to build upper back and shoulder strength with the IYT exercise. Unleash your power, achieve your potential. I'm John Calarco, Holistic Health and Performance Coach. If you have weak shoulder muscles, rotator cuff muscles, or upper back muscles, or if you have an excessively rounded upper and mid spine, thoracic spine, or you're dealing with forward head posture in the neck and the cervical spine, or if you have excessively rounded forward shoulders or you feel like they're elevated up towards the ears all the time, then the IYT exercise is going to be a great exercise for you because it's going to help you develop the fundamental levels of stability and strength in those posterior shoulder muscles, rotator cuff muscles, and upper back muscles, which is going to help you correct your posture in the upper spine, open the chest and bring it more to a neutral position. You'll also be getting the head back into a neutral position as we practice this exercise. So it's really going to be great for the entire upper portions of the spine. Then this is a great exercise to prevent injury in the shoulders. As I mentioned, we're going to build some fundamental levels of stability and strength that's not only going to just improve our posture, but also going to help us prevent injuries. And this is an exercise that's often used actually to rehabilitate shoulder injuries, so it can be beneficial for that purpose as well. Now, this is a dynamic stabilization and motor control based exercise for the shoulders, where we're really going to be learning how to move the shoulder blades properly and position them properly on the rib cage. In previous videos, I showed you how to do mobility work for the thoracic spine, for your shoulders, and also static stability work. So I showed you the T-spine rotation and reach for mobility and the trunk stability rotation for static stability of the shoulder blades, meaning static, meaning how to keep the shoulder blades in a neutral position and maintain them in the right position of neutral and slightly retracted. Now, it's really important that you have those fundamental abilities before you try to do this dynamic stabilization type exercise. So after you learn this exercise and watch this video, make sure you go back and watch those first two videos so that you can practice them in sequence and really get the most out of this exercise. As you'll see, you need a fundamental level of mobility to even get into the positions here for this exercise to get the benefits of strengthening those shoulders, rotator cuffs, and upper back. All right, now, as well, this is going to be a foundational movement pattern exercise for the upper body fundamental human movement patterns, okay? So this exercise is going to lay a great foundation of stability and strength for your pulling pattern in the upper body and your pushing pattern, okay? The two upper body fundamental human movement patterns. All right, for the pulling exercises specifically in this exercise, we're going to learn how to retract the shoulder blades and get them moving towards the spine, towards the midline properly, which is exactly what we want to initiate our rows with, our pulling exercises, and even our pull-ups or lat pull-downs, any pulling exercises overhead. We want those shoulder blades moving not just together when we go overhead, then we're working on downwardly rotating the shoulder blade there to get ourselves into the proper bottom position. So this exercise is going to help you get better at that as well. Then when it comes to our pressing exercises, especially going overhead, this exercise is really going to help when you're pressing overhead because we need that stability through the rotator cuff muscles and through the posterior shoulder muscles whenever we press overhead to get us into that nice range of motion that we want to be in and to stabilize the shoulder and make sure we're not dumping the weight forward. Okay, so this is a really important exercise for that push and pull upper body movement pattern. The muscles that we're primarily going to be targeting here are really a lot of the muscles in the shoulder complex, all right? But more specifically, the lower trap muscles. If you don't know, your trap muscles are the muscles here that people often associate with getting tension and elevating up towards the shoulders. Now, you don't just have an upper trap, you have a middle trap here as well, and you also have a lower trap that spans down right to about here on the middle of the back. Then you have those trap muscles and their different functions. Now, the lower trap muscle here specifically, we're going to be working it as we work to keep the shoulder blade down, and then we're going to be working it as we do the Y pattern, as we're really going to be contracting through it to create that Y movement pattern. Now also we're going to be using the middle traps as we retract and bring those shoulder blades together. We'll be using the rhomboid muscles along with those. So really those muscles right inside of the shoulder blades that you can really feel there, and you'll really feel the squeeze in them on this if you do it properly. Then of course we're going to be working those rotator cuff muscles, as I mentioned, to really stabilize the shoulder as we go into these letter-based movement patterns. And then finally we're going to be working those main shoulder muscles too, the deltoid muscles that you see on the front. We're going to be working those as we flex the arms overhead into the I position, and we'll be working them, especially as we do the T, we'll be working the posterior deltoid muscles as we drive back into horizontal abduction and bring that arm back behind the body. All right, so again, we're really going to work the shoulder complex in a comprehensive way here. And again, as you can tell from all the detail, this is really a great beneficial exercise when we get it right. So I'm going to show you how to perform it perfectly. To set up for the exercise, ideally, we want to be on top of a ball, a stability ball, okay, like this, or we want to be on top of a bench, because what that's going to do is allow us to get some range of motion of that shoulder blade moving forward. So ideally, we would set up here first, but if you don't have access to a stability ball or bench, I'll show you some other variations after I show you this one that you can do to get around that. But again, if you do have access to it, it is the best way to start out and learning this exercise, how to do it properly. So we're gonna take the stability ball down in front of us, come onto our knees, again, or the bench, you know, if you're laying on a bench, maybe you wanna elevate the bench up slightly to get an angle so your arms can come all the way to the ground, or it's okay if the bench is flat as well. That doesn't really matter because we're not getting too much when our arms are perpendicular with the floor here. We're still going to get a good range of motion even if the bench is flat or if we're like this on the stability ball. All right, so we're going to set up chest on the stability ball, feet about shoulder width apart so we have a nice base and we can stay balanced. If you really felt uncomfortable here for any reason, you could just go on the knees and do the exercise there. But again, we're going to do it here practicing with a long body position, engaging the glutes a little bit to set our lower body posture. Now, for the upper body, we're going to tuck that chin back, okay? Setting it up in a neutral position, maybe slightly retracted as well to make sure we're not getting into that poor forward head posture. All right, and then we're going to set our shoulders and begin the exercise. To set the shoulders, we're going to pull them down away from the ears, packing the shoulders. That's something I taught you in a previous video. Again, that's why it's so important to review those other videos before you do this one. That will make it so much easier to execute. So we're going to pack the shoulders, depress, and bring those shoulder blades down, okay? Our neck is set, nice neutral spine. We're not overextended, okay? We're nice and neutral, all right, in the spine there. Then to begin, we're actually going to do what's called the W pattern first. Now, I know you're probably thinking I haven't even mentioned that letter, but the W pattern is actually the best pattern to start with. It's the easiest one. It's really going to get you that feel for retracting the shoulder blades properly before we do the T, Y, and I. Okay, so we're going to start with the W. So again, neutral spine, shoulders are down and depressed. Okay, shoulder blades depressed. Then from there, I'm going to rotate my thumbs up. That helps us drive a little extra external rotation. I find that that works best for people to find that externally rotated shoulder position. From there, we're going to go ahead and reach the shoulder blades down to create this full movement in the shoulder blade. Then we're going to drive them up, focusing really exclusively on moving through the shoulder blades, okay? The back of the shoulder is going to move as well in that last portion of the range of motion, and we're going to contract through the muscles in the back of the shoulder. But again, we really want to think about driving this through the shoulder blades. Inhale as you come up. Okay, squeeze through those shoulder blades. Only go as far as you can squeeze fully, contracting through those muscles inside the shoulder blades, and that's it. We don't want to be excessive in the shoulder. All right, from the W position, now we're going to progress up to the T. All right, so the T position, we're just going to take the arms straight. Same exact movement, just the arms are straight now, coming out to the sides. Okay, make sure those shoulders are staying down away from the ears. Okay, we're coming down, driving up through those shoulder blades, feeling a squeeze inside the shoulder blades, feeling a squeeze in the back of the shoulder as well. Okay, again, I like this thumbs up position. It gets us some external rotation in the shoulder, which is where we want to be. All right, so focus on driving those thumbs up to the ceiling as you do it. Now we'll progress up to the Y pattern. Inhale, contract. All right, through those muscles inside the shoulder blades. Okay, achieve as high of a range of motion as you can there, just driving through the shoulder blades. Okay, we're not trying to drive this through just the shoulder, the ball of the shoulder excessively. All right, now we're going to go to the last one, which is the I. Inhale, think like you're trying to get your biceps up in line with your ears. Exhale as you come down. I'll show you one more. Okay, and that's how we perform the W, T, Y, I. Now, the biggest mistakes that we want to make sure that we avoid on this are, as I mentioned, number one, we want to make sure that we're not moving excessively through the shoulder joint, especially on the T, okay? We tend to see people kind of being excessive with this and kind of really trying to drive back excessively with the ball, okay, of the shoulder joint and more of the shoulder itself. Again, we want to drive this from those shoulder blades, okay? So we're really driving it from the muscles inside the shoulder blades, and those back of the shoulder muscles just finish at that top position and stabilize. All right, so that's the biggest thing that you want to watch out for here. Of course, as I mentioned as well, we don't want to do this exercise and get any extension in the spine. That's kind of the good thing about the stability ball, because if you move like that, you're going to kind of feel unstable on the ball. So the ball kind of almost automatically helps you stay in neutral and prevents you from, again, doing this excessive extension that we really don't want to see here. All right, then from there, we also want to make sure that we're not elevating the shoulders up excessively. So we don't want to be here. Again, we want those shoulder blades depressed as we go through. We're packing those shoulders the entire time. All right, you'll see that mostly in the upper body patterns where we do the Y and people elevate up like this, or we do the I and people are really shrugging those shoulders up towards the ears. We definitely don't want that to happen. So make sure you avoid those common mistakes that people will often make here and totally go missed. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can progress this exercise from just doing it body weight like this. You may be wondering why I have these dumbbells here. That's exactly why. My favorite way to progress this exercise is just adding resistance to doing it on a ball or a bench, okay? So you're gonna take a light pair of dumbbells, you're gonna go through the same exact patterns. Again, externally rotate, get those thumbs facing up at the ceiling. Let's go through the W. Okay, squeezing, let's go through that T. Squeezing through. All right, let's go to that Y pattern. And then we'll go to the I in that last one. All right, so that really brings up the challenge. I have a pair of 5 dumbbells here. All right, that's a great challenge for me on that. So really on this one, you want to start really light if you are adding the weight to this exercise. Maybe start 2.5 pounds. That's about it to progress this one. Now, for those other variations that I mentioned that you can do on this, the first one that you can do if you don't have access to a stability ball, you don't have access to a bench, what you can do is just go onto the chest and lay and do this. But this is a more advanced way to do the exercise. So if you're doing it here, make sure that you really own it and make sure that you really have the awareness about how to move your shoulder blades properly, because now we're at an end range of motion where it's much more difficult. So again, same exact setup. Okay, I'm going to tuck my chin back. You can even put something here to rest your forehead on the ground if you need to. All right, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and do my W pattern, set my shoulders down, thumbs up, externally rotating through the shoulder. Same exact thing. Go through the T. Okay, again, it's just a little bit harder because you don't get any momentum, you don't get any initial movement through the shoulder blades. You're right at the end range of motion. So this is definitely not the place to start, okay, if you haven't done this exercise, because that brings a challenge of its own up. So maybe if you were doing the work on the stability ball, you did dumbbell work on the stability ball, you made it up to a respectable weight like 5 pounds or even, a little bit more than that, 7.5, 10 pounds, and you really mastered that, then you could come to the ground and that adds another element of challenge. So it's a way to progress the exercise, but again, it's also a way you can do the exercise if you don't have equipment. But again, you have to really make sure that you know what you're doing on it, because it can irritate the shoulders and whatnot and stress the shoulder joint, especially in the front side, if we don't have those shoulder blades in the right position. All right, another option that you can do here is in the hip hinge pattern. Okay, now the hip hinge pattern is something that I showed you before previously in the channel. We spent a lot of time on different exercises building the foundation for it. It's another great exercise position that you can do this exercise in. If you don't have a stability ball, if you don't have a bench, all right, you can go right into your hip hinge, slight knee bend, maintain your neutral spine. All right, you can go into that W. All right, you can go into that T. All right, Y and I. Okay, and same thing. You can even add the dumbbells to that as well. So really a multitude of options here for this exercise, and really worth understanding all the different options and doing it because this is such a beneficial exercise for our body. Now, in terms of the sets and reps, and how often we should do it if it's such an important exercise, right? We want to think about doing this, again, whenever we're doing stabilization type training, we're working on the endurance of the stabilizing muscles, we want to think about a little bit higher repetitions. So this is the type of exercise that we want to do for about 2 to 3 sets of about 10 to 15 or so repetitions, okay? If you are having a lot of challenge with this, maybe you've still opened up your mobility, but it's still really hard for you, you can even start just doing sets of 8 on this type of an exercise, because again, it's really technical in terms of making sure we move the right way. We don't want to sacrifice any bit of our technique on this for more reps. So do as many great reps as you can. If you can make it up to those higher ranges of 10 to 15, that's ideal, but you can work your way up there. So don't force it. Again, let your technique really be the guide on this one, as it's such a particular exercise for the shoulder joint that we want to make sure we're doing correctly. Now, in terms of how often you should do it, if you're just, building your fundamental levels of stability and strength in your body, this is an exercise that should be in your program, 2 to 3 times a week, working on those shoulders. Again, considering that you've built some mobility and static stability in the upper body and shoulder blades. All right, so that would be the right amount for you. Now, if you're more advanced, this is something you could throw into your warm-ups, before a training session to help your upper back and shoulder muscles fire up better for your overhead presses, so you can do it after your warm-up. It's also something you can throw in at the end of a workout as kind of prehab work for the shoulders. So it's something you can even do just once a week if you're really advanced and your shoulders are really healthy. It's something you can just add in to kind of supplement, complement the shoulders, again, either before your workout or post-workout to practice it there. Now, that's your timing for the exercise. Now again, this is an exercise that's going to apply to many different people, and you can do it in many different ways. So make sure that you choose the modification that's right for you. If you're unsure about the modification for you, then go ahead and drop a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions about how you should perform this exercise. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And then make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I have more videos coming your way in this series of developing the fundamental levels of stability and strength to perform the upper body human movement patterns the right way. Until then, unleash your power, achieve your potential.